Welcome back to the channel. It's Monday. We're back at the track. This is week 3 of this training block. This means this week is going to be the most intense week of this block that I wrote out for myself. The way that I like to program for myself is in 4-week blocks. 3 weeks building up in intensity, volume, whatever it might be that I'm focusing on for that block. And then week 4 is going to be slight deload, and then we move into the next block, and I just kind of repeat that 3 weeks up, 1 week down, and just kind of build from there. On Mondays, since we've been doing work capacity, intensification of that week means we're going to be doing the most work capacity. So today we're going to be doing those sled sprints at about 90% effort, accumulating right around 300 total meters of total volume on that. So we'll be doing some of the 10s, some of the 20s, some of the 30s with the sled at sub-maximal efforts. And then next week when we go into this, we'll drop that overall volume down a little bit. But today, on Mondays, the facility that I use, which today I'm going to kind of walk around and show you guys what it's like in here, is a public facility. It's used by 2 of the sport clubs in town. On the weekends, there's a lot of practices going on. Sometimes there's games going on. So Mondays is usually a mess when I get here. So the first thing I need to do is move everything out of the way so I've got an open space on the track. And then I'll kind of walk around, show you guys what the facility looks like. It's a full indoor soccer field. We've got the track on this side. We've got long jump pits. There's some different areas around the track that the track club here uses as well. But first up is we got to get this place clean. Alright, so this facility is technically a public facility. Since the city built it, they paid for it. It's used for the sports clubs, but since it was built using taxpayer money, the city allows people to just come in here and train. The only kind of rule that there is like if there is a team that's actually practicing, you just kind of got to stay out of their way. Since I really only use the track, there's not a lot of issues that I run in with that. There is a track club that also trains here, but I very rarely see them. I think they train later in the evening. I'm always here around 8 in the morning as I get here. So the facility has pretty much everything you can need if you're training for sprints, track and field, anything like this. So the normal place that I train is off to the side, way back there. This area over here is kind of like the jumps area. So you have a full long jump pit. You've got all your plyo boxes, more plyo boxes. Goes into a full-blown pole vault section that's not set up right now. So normally this is all laid out. You can see where the pole vault section is going to be. They've got extra mats up here that they lay out to practice with the throws. So they'll set up those mats so that people can do throws against the wall. We've also got a high jump pit over here that's set up. So they'll lay this down and then people will do their takeoffs and run-ups from this position over here. You've got the full indoor soccer field. So this is where the soccer clubs will train. There's 2 major sports clubs in this town. The other sports club doesn't have a full indoor facility, so this indoor facility is used by both, even though it's like the home field of only one of the clubs. But it's Iceland. There's so much snow on the ground pretty much 8 months out of the year, and club teams typically practice and participate in their sport year round. So this facility is used a lot on both of those clubs. On the side here where I'm running, there's 4 lanes, and each lane is 110 meters long. So we've got the starting position down there all the way to down on the other end, and then down here at the very beginning or end of the 110 meter lane, depending on what side you just choose to run from. There's more track and field equipment down here. There's start blocks, sleds, mats for doing plyos. I apologize for the fan that you guys are about to hear. This fan right here, that's the fan that's that buzzing noise you hear in the background. But this corner over here, you've got your start blocks. There's throwing implements in the cabinets here, weights for the sled, different weights, mats, more start blocks, and then cool thing that they have here, if you want to do sprints but you don't own your own spikes, there is a bunch of old spikes in here, so people just donate and throw a pair of spikes in there once they buy a new set. So the track club always has some sort of availability of equipment for people to use. So that's the facility. Pretty dope that I have access to something like this in a very small town. It allows me to do my sprints, train, everything that I need to do in the heart of winter here in Iceland. I can still get inside, do some quality training. I know there's a lot of people who don't have access to something like this. The big thing I usually tell people is you're either going to find a way to get the work done or you're going to find an excuse. I have clients who go out in the middle of a parking lot and will do their sprints, or they'll find an area that's just a big open space, whether it's a field, whether it's just some place they have in their gym, and they'll go and get the work done. So even though, let's say you don't have access to a full facility like this, even when I was bobsledding, we would do our sprints inside parking garages. We would figure out just a big open space. If we had to adjust the volume in terms of like how much sprinting we could do, like let's say we only had 30 meters of area we could actually do sprints, we would just do 30s. If we only had 10 or 15 meters, we would just work on accelerations and do things like that. If you don't have access to a facility like this, which 99% of people probably don't, just find a big open space. It could be a parking lot, a parking garage, it could be a field. Go to your old high school, see if you can't get onto the track or the field there. But just find a spot that you can get to, get some sprints in, and just get done what you can get done. So that's my best piece of advice when it comes to the sprint stuff. A lot of people look for the most ideal setup, and if they don't have that ideal setup, then they just think that, oh, I can't sprint because I don't have access to a track. I can't sprint because I don't have access to a field, whatever it might be. Find an open spot. There's open space all around. I have clients who are in New York, in a giant city, who will just find an open sidewalk and do sprints, or find a running trail and do sprints or anything like that. So if you really want to, you'll find a spot to get the work done. That's the facility. I'm gonna go start knocking out my warm-up, and then we're gonna get in a little bit into our work capacity, work with the sled today. All right, so the warm-up's done. Very general warm-up. Since we're doing work capacity type stuff, I don't really need to get super specific with the warm-up. So just got loose, did a couple drills, and then I'm going to load up the sled and we'll start knocking out our first series, which is going to be on the 10 meters with 50% on the sled. And again, just as a reminder, last I checked, we were at 3,595 subscribers. We have a goal of hitting 5,000 subscribers on the channel. Once we hit 5,000 subscribers, I'm going to be releasing a complete track speed program. It will be a 12-week program with all of your track workouts laid out each week, each day of that 12 weeks. And that program will be free of charge. Once we hit that 5,000 subscriber mark, I'll release the program. It's going to be a full downloadable program, so you don't have to like subscribe to anything else. You can just go click on it, download a full 12-week PDF, have the complete program there. The idea I have for the program is I just want it to be an entry into doing more sprint work. So it's going to build up in intensity over those 12 weeks. Start off very general for those that are beginners to doing any type of sprint work. I'm going to lay out your warm-ups. I'm going to have each day's workout for you throughout the week. It's only going to be the track session, so no weight room work. So you could add this into a program that you're already running and just get some additional speed work with whatever it is that you're doing. And that will happen in about 1,405 subscribers from now. So if you're new here, make sure to subscribe. Let's get closer to that 5K so we can be able to release that program. And if you've gotten any kind of value out of these, make sure to like the video. So I'm gonna go load up the sled. We're gonna knock out some 10s and get work on today's session. All right, 10s are done. Next thing, we're gonna do 20s. So with the 10s, again, 50% body weight on the sled. So for me, even though I'm about 98 kilos, I just round up to 100 to make it easy. And I got 50 kilos on the sled. For the 20s, we're gonna do 25 kilos on the sled. So 25% body weight. And we'll knock out probably 5 20s on those. And then we'll drop the weight one more time to 15% body weight on the sled and probably do anywhere between 4 to 6 on the 30s today. So a lot more volume on those 30s. And again, these should be done at like 90% effort, 95% effort maybe. The idea here is you don't want to be doing all-out sprints and blow yourself up because you have that very short rest period. So I'm only resting about 30 seconds after each repetition. So if you go all out on that first one, 30 seconds, all out on the second one, 30 seconds, that quality of those reps starts to deteriorate. So you want to bring the intensity down and try to maintain that intensity as long as you can throughout each of those repetitions. Another added benefit that I feel from doing these is, I've said this before on some of my other sessions when we're at the track working on acceleration. A big part of acceleration is being patient in that first 10 meters. And it's tricky because obviously you're sprinting. You want to move as fast as you can. But when I talk about being patient is you don't want to shorten up those steps and make them real choppy because you're trying to be fast. Being patient means pushing through each step as long and powerful as you can in order to accelerate the most efficiently and set yourself up for better max velocity later on down the track, down the field, whatever it is that you might be doing. Doing these at 90% really allows you to feel that you're getting good extension on each of those pushes. you're being powerful while still putting in a high effort. 90% by no means is an easy effort. You still should be feeling like you're being strong and powerful, but bringing that intensity down a little bit kind of teaches you how to be patient in that first 10 meters. So it's a tricky thing, like these type of cues are not always the best for everybody. Sometimes if I have an athlete and I tell them that they need to be more patient, what ends up happening is they end up being slow because they're trying to just be slower. Patience doesn't mean slow. Patience just means being very disciplined in making sure you're hitting the right postures and you're completing each posture. And what I mean by that is when you're going off of that first step, making sure you're getting extension before you start to do a switch with the legs and go into your next step. Being patient means finishing that step prior to starting your next step, if that makes any sense. In my head, this makes sense because I've been doing this for a while, but maybe that doesn't make sense to you. I hope it does. But that's what patient means, is like finishing each step before you start to do the next one. You don't want to just get out the gate and start spinning your wheels. So doing these sets at 90% is a great way to teach how to be patient while still putting in a high amount of effort. So we're going to drop the weight on the sled right now, go to 25 kilos, and then we're going to knock out about 5 20s. Felt good. So take a little break here. I want to do at least 5 30s. So I think last week we did 3, so we're going to increase the volume on the 30s a little bit. Do at least 5. If 5's feeling good, might do 6, and that'll put us real close to about 300 to 320 total meters, somewhere around there. I did 4 on the 10s, 5 on the 20s, and then 5 to 6 on the 30s to get us real close to it. If I do 5, it puts me at 290. If I do 6, it puts me at 320, which for me is fine. Somewhere close to that 300 meter range for total volume today was kind of the idea on that. Whew. And if you guys are wondering why I'm doing this with a hoodie on, even though we're technically inside, there's no heaters in here, and it's still snowing outside in Iceland, so it's not the warmest in here. So I'd rather, on a day like today where I'm not worried about trying to go fast, keeping a hoodie on, keeping the body warm, it's all that really matters. So for the 30s, I'm gonna put 15 kilos on the sled. We'll do our 5 or 6 30s. The idea on the weight on the sled is I want the resistance to be enough to where I feel like I have to maintain a forward lean. I don't want it to just be a minimal amount where I end up just going into an upright position. I want to maintain and mimic what would be kind of like a drive phase if I'm doing a sprint. So in a sprint, you have 3 phases really to it. You've got your acceleration phase, which depending on how efficient you are at your acceleration, that's going to be anywhere between 10 to 20, 30 meters for most. You've got a transition phase, which is going to be called your drive phase, where you're transitioning from your acceleration into your max velocity. So as you go through your drive phase, you're still having a slight forward lean with the torso, but as you're continuing to take each step, you're slowly rising up and getting into an upright position. And then you get to the 3rd phase, which is your max velocity, which is where you'll be hitting your top end speeds for that sprint. So a lighter sled at a longer distance, somewhere between 20 to 30 meters, is going to mimic, or should mimic, that drive phase, given that you have, you know, a load on the sled that's going to allow you to kind of manage that position. You're not going to be in a full-on acceleration position. You're going to be somewhere between
upright and acceleration. So your torso probably a little bit higher than 45-degree angle compared to the ground, not quite perpendicular to the ground, somewhere in between that range. You really just want to feel like you've got a forward lean, big, good, hard steps driving into the ground, and then trying to just be powerful still through this 30 meters. So I'm going to load the sled up, 15 kilos on the sled. We'll knock out 5 or 6 of these, and then that's going to be a solid session for today. I'm gonna do one more just because I want the sled to be back down where it should be, so might as well run it down there. So 6 reps total on the 30s, about 30 to 40 second rest in between. Whew. All right, last rep. Alright, 30s are done. We did 6. I ended up doing 6. Felt really good. Everything felt like it should today. Work capacity, we're at 320 total meters today. So we did 4 10s, puts us at 40 meters. 5 20s, puts us at 140 meters. And then 6 30s, puts us at 320 meters total for today. So compared to week 1, we did 200 total meters, progressed that up to 320. Next week being a deload, we'll drop that back down close to somewhere around 200 meters, and then we'll transition into the next training block after that. But overall, today felt good. I noticed today too, these spikes got holes in them now. I'm wearing them out, so it might be close to time buying a new set. That's gonna be it for today. Appreciate you guys watching the video. If you made it this far, make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll be back at it tomorrow.